It's two conscious guys talking, where conscious male leaders come together and have a discussion that is deep, that is nourishing, that allows us to see the illumination of consciousness that's unfolding progressively for men that are waking up in the world, and where you can get insights on your own awakening as a man, and also for amazing women that want to learn more about men's challenges and struggles that have created some of the dysfunction we've seen within men in its society, often called, quote unquote, the patriarchy and other terms. What created it? What is the genesis of it all? What can we do about it today to empower men to be all that they're meant to be and to support the awakening of consciousness for men and women and all? All right. Wow. I'm excited to be with you today, Auro.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Huh. I know, and thanks for being here today. On this day, you have a summit you're doing and launching, and you're working out the kinks all night and whatnot, you told me. So
Yeah.
props to you. You're committed to getting it, so-called getting it right, so to speak, right? Let's get this thing right. Let's get this thing happening. And I appreciate your dedication to the light and the work you do in the world. Appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you.
Mhm.
It's been a journey. It's been a little bit stressful. It's kind of showing me that I need to have a little bit more control over my own stuff.
Mhm.
Um, and to have a little bit more initiative when it's coming to putting my own stuff together. I have a team, and I kind of relied on them to handle the logistics of it. And I'm seeing now that I don't like that. I don't like not having complete control over my own stuff. Um,
Mhm.
so yeah, it's forcing me to learn the back end of my own creation when it
Mhm.
comes to summits or websites or the building of whatever. It's really showing me that I need to put more of a concerted effort forward into um complete control in building my own stuff. So yeah.
Mhm. Responsibility at a minimum, right? I don't know
Mhm.
about full control, but I know what you mean. Like taking that full responsibility, because it is easy when we have people doing things for ourselves that, oh, they got to handle it, right? Hands
Mhm.
off. Then we find out what's going on.
Mhm. Yeah,
So,
exactly.
yeah, totally. It happens. So we learn, we grow, and things still unfold and happen in all kinds of different ways. That delight us and maybe don't delight us at the
Mhm.
time, but either way we can hopefully adjust and align to the higher opportunity and all of it, right? So
Exactly. Yeah.
yeah. I want to talk about your journey. You have a really potent, very I would say very unique journey, I would say,
Yeah.
and your upbringing, your background as a man, and as a person who's really psychic, and it comes from you said a family of psychics and
Mhm.
everything. So what was it like? First of all, just to start there, that's a very interesting topic in itself. Like, what was it like growing up in a family of psychics? Let's start there.
Scary as hell. First off, I'll say. Um, I think growing up in a family of psychics, you're early exposed to energetic beings, and spirituality in the spirit world. So you grow up seeing things. You grow up seeing things in the corner of your eye. You grow up seeing spirits. You grow up seeing tall men in top hats. You grow up moving into haunted houses. You grow up just having all these weird, crazy experiences that scare the shit out of you and develop you a little bit more than people who aren't exposed to it. It kind of puts you in a state of you have to. I guess you have to know yourself. You have to live in your intuition. And it shows you very early that the things that normal people will be afraid of aren't scary. It's more so of like you're forced into like a self learning, if that makes any sense at all. A exploration very very early. Um, yeah, it teaches you to grow your intuition. It teaches you to see the deeper meaning into everything. It teaches you to understand that not everything scary needs to be feared. I'll say, to shorten that, it teaches you to be strong when normal people wouldn't be. So yeah, I would say that's what it's like growing up in a family of psychics, and also never getting away with anything, because they always know. So, yeah,
Can't get away with the damn thing.
not at all. Never, 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 never.
I'm already
Um,
seeing that you're going to do this or you're going to do that. So now I'm asking you not to do that, right?
yeah, yeah, and
Yeah, I mean,
never
I
being
know it's
able to
Mike,
lie.
but I definitely did not come up from a family that were going around, being psychic all the time and reading energies and everything.
Yeah.
Uh, but then as I, you know, open to who I am, my gifts and whatnot, and I had kids,
Mhm.
there were times, there were definitely many times, because
Mm.
they're 15, 18, and then my stepdaughter is like 32. I
Mhm.
believe I got that right. Like, I don't know, I think, right? So anyway, there were times I one like vivid scene comes in
Mhm.
where my daughter was like would go into the bathroom and come out, and I'd be like, "You didn't wash your hands," like things like
Mhm.
that. Like, you didn't wash your hands. She says, "I no, didn't you hear the water running and everything or whatever?" And like she trying to learn how to manipulate and lie at the time, right? I'm
Mhm.
like, "Nope, you didn't. I know you didn't wash your hands. I just know it." And then we were going in there. I says, "We're going to look at the sink. Is there any water in there whatsoever?" "No, you didn't wash your hands. You need to wash your hands after you go to the bathroom." Like, "Well, how did you know? How did you know I didn't wash my hands?" I says, "Well, your dad just knows things, and like it just, and some of that just happens for a lot of people, right? Like they
Mhm.
have an intuition, but
Yeah.
like I would always be catching things. And I remember one time, just to
Mhm.
give a couple of fun examples, like one time when there was a boy interest or whatever in their life, when it was early on too, like in
Mhm.
middle school, when I'm more vigilant about it and it's all new to me. I'm like, hey, wait a minute, I'm getting hit. I'm feeling like there's some guy you're interested in, something going on. Like, I'm like, yeah,
Mhm.
no, there's something going on. What's going on? Like,
And you always know. Yeah.
yeah. And I just call her out. She's like, "Well, there's this guy," and so there, and then I'm like, and then it's interesting, like this with the ability to then say, like, "Yeah, I know who he is. He's got his
Mhm.
hair. It's like this. He looks like that.
Mhm.
I believe he's into this and that." And like you just start talking about the guy, right?
Mhm.
I don't know. I feel this way about it, And so each one, it'd be like I'd have my feelings. Like one of them, I was like, "Oh my God, I am not happy. This is a."
Mhm.
Sure enough, it blew up within a month, right? But I'm not a
That's
person
amazing.
who will, as a father or even as someone, friend or coach, even really, but
Mhm.
be like try to control people and be like, "You can't do it, don't do it." I might encourage them that way, but it's your choice. But I always hand it back to the person. It's your choice, but I don't know. I don't see it. I don't
Mhm.
see it that way. And it is a very interesting dance, having, because I did want to talk about that because it's part of mental health, and we'll
Mhm.
get into the connection as we keep talking. But
Okay.
being able to perceive these things, having abilities to make a difference in people's lives by with just that gift alone, not to mention all the other ones we might have to be able to alter the course of things and bring healing or whatever, all the different things that we can tap into. Like last night, my sister's in a hospital and she's like, "Oh my God, they won't help me. They're not giving me the meds I need. I know what I need. They won't give it to me." I just like I did a prayer, so just give it to her instantly. And like within
Mhm.
2 minutes, she texted me. She says, "They just gave me what I needed. Finally. Thank
Oh,
you."
wow.
Like things like that, like these instant because once we peel back the layers and we realize who we really are,
Mhm.
not that it's just me, but I just feel like we all have that, most all of us have it accessible at some level, right? Like these abilities, like when we can peel that back, it brings its own challenges when,
Mhm.
because it gets in the ego and stuff, right? But it
Mhm.
also brings new opportunities and it liberates you at the same time. So let's even talk about that. There's so many layers to talk about today, but let's talk about that. You being psychic and family of psychics, can't get away with anything. But
Mm-hmm.
like, because I know there was some crazy dynamics in your family, right? Like
Oh,
the
yeah.
narcissism you told me, and all kinds of controls and whatnot. And
Yeah.
so, anywhere you want to go from there, I'm just talking.
Okay. Okay, so I'll start at the beginning, like at my upbringing. So growing up, I was raised by a narcissist who is not only a narcissist but a drug addict, and has multiple personality disorder. It was not easy. I was abandoned quite often. I was left with people who would do harm to a child, people who did drugs, hard drugs, crack, cocaine, stuff like that, just horrible, scary stuff that you would see in a movie. I was left with them. I was babysit by them. I grew up around them. Um, so that also kind of is like a factor in that kind of grow a factor in your mental health as well. You grow up with a narcissist not having access to who you truly are. My mother never, I'll say this, when you grow up with a narcissist, you grow up always being their flying monkey. A narcissist is characterized by having a flying monkey, someone who protects and defends them to your detriment. You never get a grasp as to who you are because you're always everything the narcissist wants you to be at every moment of the day. When you're not that, you get beaten, attacked, abused, in every single way you could possibly think of. So I grew up with a brother as well. He was also a recipient of her treatment. So he and I just did not get along because she would pin the both of us against each other. So we grew up with a narcissistic mother who abandoned us very, very frequently. And when we were together, she was pinning us against each other. So we grew up hating each other as well. And I say all that to say that both of us grew up with narcissistic tendencies, not knowing that we weren't narcissists, but we had the tendencies, and hating each other, not understanding why we hate each other. So growing up with a narcissistic mother, again, you understand, or you fully, you never fully understand who you are. You never fully understand what you can offer. So growing up, you have to develop that. You have to find who you are. You have to, I guess, go deeper within yourself to understand what you enjoy. And that's what my life has been so far, is unlearning all the crap that I learned from my mother, um, to become the person I'm supposed to be. Um, it's crazy growing up with someone who completely detaches you from your identity, or a identity, or having the ability to create an identity. Because to be honest, I didn't even know that I didn't have my own identity until I turned like 26, 27, 28. And I finally realized through my healing journey, through theta healing, through counseling, therapy, all this stuff, that I I'm not a person. I'm a shell of a human living someone else's experience. I am a shell of a human conditioned to survive based on someone else's methods of survival, if that makes any sense.
Mhm.
Um, but I'll say this also: she was a narcissist raised by a narcissist as well. Um, and the only reason she is where she is because she went through abuse even 10 times more than what I went through. Um, so I think she just didn't have the necessary methodology to equip me with anything healthy growing up.
Mhm.
All she could do was raise me the way that she was raised. Luckily, I didn't get the same bitter hand that she was given, but I got a taste of it.
Mhm.
Um, and yeah, it had a potential to make me into her. It had the potential to make me into the same monster that she became and is to this day. Um, but luckily, I had someone intervene who helped me see that I'm not that. I'm not her. So I hope that answers your question. I kind of went on a rant myself.
Oh no, that's perfect. We're just talking. That's why we call it
Yeah,
just two conscious guys talking, right?
yeah.
So
It's
we're just talking. I mean, that's like I said, it's just such I feel
mm,
sort of a really different environment to grow up in. I mean, with all
mm-hmm,
those factors combined, right? And
yeah,
yeah, I can't quite imagine that myself, but you did run into within that to get into the mental health stuff. You
mm-hmm,
I have him, from when we talked, that you became depressed, suicidal, all those things.
Oh
So tell
yeah.
me more about like how you were trying to cope, what you were feeling,
Mhm.
your mental health journey with all of that. Like, tell us
Mhm.
more about that.
Okay. Um, so I'll start with depression. I think my entire life I've been depressed. Up until recently. Well, I'll say the past 4 or 5 years. As I inched closer and closer to 30, that's when I finally got free, and that's when my healing really took a turn in like 10x. But
Mhm.
I'm getting ahead of myself. I think
Mhm.
growing up in an abusive household with a family without a father, and with a mother who just doesn't know how to be human. Um, Again, you don't have access to how to even build an identity, especially one in positivity, especially in one in development and growth and kindness and compassion and peace and love and all that jazz. So I guess I'll say my journey started later in my 20s. I finally got help. Someone took a chance on me and took me from my mother. Um, it started off with me getting away from her. Um, and once I got away from her, that's when my healing began. So the suicidal thoughts and the depression were something I don't know. To be honest, for me, I say I was born with it. Like there was never a moment where I didn't want to die. There was never a moment where I wanted to live. And to be honest with you, I can't even remember the time where I had decided that um, I was depressed. Like I had never made the decision of I'm depressed. I had never made the decision that I was suicidal because I can never remember a time where I wasn't.
Right.
Um, with the abuse, the neglect, the everything, everything is always bad, or everything was always bad then. So I could never remember anything good that happened with my mother or living amongst her or with her, whatever. Um, so yeah, it was a never ending haze of depression, sadness, anger, rage, all the horrible emotions. And again, finally, once I got away from her is when I started to heal. So what I started with was theta healing. I got certified as a theta healing practitioner when I was about 20, 21, I believe. And that was the beginning of my healing. That was when I was able to be taught how to dig deep within my psyche, address my inner children, and begin to unravel. Um, I guess I like to say like the bandage or the yarn of a wound. So the way that I classify trauma is like a ball of yarn. It's wrapped up endlessly with all your wounds, all your traumas, all that jazz. So when you're doing healing work, you're unraveling that. You're pulling away those deep knots and windings of that ball of yarn. Um, and that's when I really began doing it. I really began addressing my inner child. I began reparenting. I began unlearning. I began to finally find an identity and access who I truly am. I begin to learn that masculinity is not dangerous. That it's good to be masculine. It's good to choose to be a man. I think growing up without a father, um, another aspect of the abuse is my mother would bring in men and she would allow them to beat us the way that she would. So it gives you a very, very unhealthy outlook on men. It makes you afraid of them. It makes you hate them. It makes you rageful when you're around them. It makes you fearful when you're around them. It makes every man look dangerous. So for a long time, a hard, um, I had a hard journey accepting that I'm a man and accepting my masculinity for a long, long time. Just because I had seen the worst sides of it growing up my entire life. So that was another thing I had to kind of come to grips with is understanding that not all men are unhealthy, evil, abusive monsters. And that masculine energy is just as powerful as feminine energy and just as safe.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, I'm all over the place. I'm so sorry about that.
Oh no, you don't know. You might feel that way, but you're not.
Um,
It's,
sorry,
it
but
reminds,
yeah,
it reminds me when I actually like formally channel and I'm like, my mind might think to myself, like, I don't know if I'm making any sense. And, typically what people say afterwards, most of the time it's like, wow, like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, that's how I'm experiencing
Yeah.
this. So, okay. So yeah, wow. I mean, again, I can't, I don't have a reference point, like some of the people I talk to have more of a reference, but I'm like, oh, that kind of reminds me of this. I don't have that reference point here. There is one reference point that I sort of relate to, though, is,
Mm-hmm.
um, it's just with the now depression didn't really hit for me until my teenage years, so I didn't really have that so much earlier.
Mm-hmm.
um but that feeling of like, what's the point, why am I here, for a long time, coming on and off and on and off over the years, like,
Mm-hmm.
really even to present day, almost, really, in a way, because there could be a, like, whatever, I guess, there always, it's like an underlying question,
Mm-hmm.
like, yeah, okay, what are we doing here,
Yeah.
what is
Same.
reality all about? Now, that's not necessarily suicidal, but it's
Mm-hmm.
but it's more like, just, what's the point? What are we doing here? Like,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
what's it? What? And then I come up with all the reasons. I can teach it as well as anybody. Oh, of course, I lay it on thick. It's the love. It's this. It's that. But there's
Mm-hmm.
that thing, the critter in there that's like, what is this all about?
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
so that kind of gnawing feeling of, there are times when my mind still reflexively, because I had the thought, not constant like you all, like all my life through my 20s or whatever, but like,
Mm-hmm.
it was so persistent, the thought of not wanting to be here, is
Mm-hmm.
that it will jump in my mind sometimes, just
Yeah.
out of frustration. Oh, I just wish I was gone, or whatever. It's
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
just random
Yeah.
thought, right? It's like, oh, that just thought just rose out of nowhere, like, just like
Mm-hmm.
that, so quick, right?
Yeah.
And now, for me, I never made an attempt on my life or anything. Like, I had, yeah, I thought of things and whatnot, but I never did them. I never
Mm-hmm.
took action on it. So,
Mm-hmm.
I'm from a mental health, like, therapist kind of background, so I know, like, my risk level is really low compared to, other people.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, did you, in your case, was it more of just a constant thought, or was it like you literally would try to take steps in that direction? Or I'm just curious.
It was, I would say it was more of a constant thought. There were a few times where I attempted it.
Mm-hmm.
But there was always, it seemed to be something to draw me back in.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'll say also this is that I have that same thought, and sometimes I'll think, um, what's the point?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like I could still leave. Like I have nothing truly um anchoring me here.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I think that more so comes from just living so long and not feeling enough, or in depression. And still just having that understanding back in the back of our minds, and not truly realizing, I guess, the value of life. I'll say that for me anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think I didn't truly understand the value of life until I started like traveling and actively choosing to live. Um, I think I made the active choice to live at 28. I said, okay, I haven't killed myself. I haven't made the steps to do so. So you're going to actively choose to live. You're actively choosing to give yourself a chance. Um, and I think that also helped turn things around. So I'm sorry to segue away from your question, but to answer your question, yes, there were many, many times where I wanted to, but there was always something to draw me back in. And the crazy thing is, coming from a psychic family, even though my mother was a narcissist, the moment I decided to end it, she'd show up.
Yeah.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
or someone in the family would show up, or someone would come to stop me. Because I remember one time, there was a one home we lived in. It was right by the train tracks. And all I had to do was hop the fence, and I could just lay on the tracks. And I remember the moment I had made the decision, she pulled up in her car with her husband, and they picked me up. Um, and kind of like calmed me down, which again, when you're in a kind of like a situation like that where you're held hostage, you think that they're good for saving you.
Mm-hmm.
When in actuality, um, your death looks bad on them. It
Mm-hmm.
shows what the treatment in the home was really like.
Mm-hmm.
If you know narcissists, that there's not really much they feel beyond what looks good for them.
Mm-hmm.
So it was more so about how she looked as a mother than saving me. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so yeah, I kind of went a little bit off
Yeah. No,
again.
no, that's great. No, that's an
Yeah.
organic conversation. So, um, okay. So yeah, and that's interesting because I know like there are people who are empathic and have all kind of different backgrounds that are listening in as men and women, but they have had all kinds of different experiences, and they have, as they've come out of the worst of it, all of a sudden they could find themselves back in it, right? The
Yeah.
recurring cycle of depression or suicidal ideas, and they could rise to the highest frequencies and levels and feel like they're embodied in it. Even all of a sudden something happens and they're triggered. They feel back in that traumatized state, and they're like, "Oh my God," like they're
Yeah.
just almost feeling right back in it.
Hmm.
Hopefully, what happens for me is typically those states just don't last as long. The big
Hmm.
darkness comes in. I'm like, I can't do anything. I'm totally incapable because of that's where my energy is. It's not that
Hmm.
much,
Hmm.
not so much mental. It's like it's just energetic. I'm just incapable of anything. Is what it feels like, and it's just like
Yeah.
I'm good just to shut everything sort of down for even if it's for an hour or two or three or whatever. Just shut everything down. I'm just not with it right now. And
Hmm.
then the cycle doesn't last as long. Whereas past might last for years, or days or weeks or whatever. And so that's what I've noticed is just the cycle does for me anyway, just doesn't last as long.
Yeah.
Um, and so I imagine that's what you experienced because you said you've broken through, but
Yep.
I'm guessing because I like to have full transparency as best as we can overall. Like I
Mhm.
imagine you still have, because you did kind of say it, it's like you
Yep.
still have days where like, oh my God, what's the point? And those
Yeah.
ideas still roam around even once we have really gotten a lot better, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I will say I agree. Yeah. There are times it comes up, but I notice it's only at times when I don't feel enough, when I
Mm,
don't feel adequate enough, when I don't feel like I have enough. Um, it's almost like my response to not being enough
hmm
in whatever aspect or whatever sense. Because I notice that's when it comes up. Um, so I think that it's more so rooted in not being enough in whatever way that may be specific to that person. Um, and also because it's so easy to go back there because you're so used to it, because you've been in it so long, either previously or currently. It's so easy to go back. It's so easy to go back to a specific thought pattern, especially when you know it, when your body knows it, when your consciousness knows it. That going back is okay. I'm here. Um, but yeah, like you said, it does get easier to kind of escape it. It does get easier to see through it as you heal the reasons why you believe you aren't enough.
hmm
Um, as you finally get to see that there's more to existence beyond just surviving and beyond your trauma and beyond your loneliness. Because I also see that loneliness is another time when it comes up as well, especially for a lot of men. I think men growing up, younger men and older men, don't realize how lonely it is to be a man.
mm
Um, Even when you have a family, even if you have a wife and kids and friends, sometimes you don't understand, think, or know to go to them when you're feeling powerful emotions, to develop intimacy with them, um, to have them understand you on a deeper level emotionally. I think the consensus as a man is that you're supposed to be strong all the time, that you're supposed to be stoic all the time, that you're supposed to be like a pillar of emotional stability. And I think that it's just not right. It's wrong. I think as a man, you're supposed to find intimacy in other men. And I think a lot of men think that intimacy is sex, and that's not it at all. Intimacy is developing a relationship where you can say, "Hey, I'm hurting. Can you help me? Hey, I need A, B, and C. Can you provide that?" um, and being and feeling safe doing that. I think as a man, we need to see other healthy minded men who have intimacy with each other, who have like a powerful bond with each other, who have a connection through loneliness, um, who can show them that there's more than just um, loneliness, that there's more than just feeling not enough, that there's more to the world than just your limited view. Um, Again, I think that when we're thinking about, um, I don't want to be here anymore, it's a lot of things, but there's always a root cause to it that we are ignoring as to why we feel this thing. Um, so I think for me, when I'm feeling that why am I here? I'm not enough, or any of that thing, I have to explore why I'm not feeling, or why I feel like I'm not enough in that moment, or what's triggered me going back to that state of I don't want to be here. But usually, the people that I've worked with, and myself, it's usually connected to loneliness, um, a limited worldview, and trauma.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I kind of ranted again, but
That's
um,
good. That's
yeah,
good. Those really good, really good things, really great things you said. So, uh, yeah, the whole being an emotional pillar and strength, and I'm tough enough to deal with whatever.
hmm
Nothing can disturb me. I'm
hmm
fine and all that
yeah,
stuff. And yeah, that's a big one for guys, even guys that are more sensitive and
yeah,
more emotive and whatnot. That's still a thing, and I know, like I experience it, and I don't have a lot of oh, these are outside of work, like these are my guy friends. Like I really
yeah,
don't have that. I mean, I have like
hmm
maybe one or two people. I mean,
hmm
like on a regular, any kind of regular basis whatsoever. I
yeah,
mean, and it is lonely in that way because
hmm
part of me does yearn for more, but then when I'm really honest about it, I'm like, yeah, well, why don't you go change it? I'm like,
hmm
"Hmm, I don't know, is it really that important?" But the
hmm
the ones
it
that
is.
are in my life, I often do think like, why isn't there a little bit more of that? Yeah, that
hmm
intimacy that you talk about, even though there is some, it's like,
hmm
yeah. So you could feel, because you could feel that sense of a wall. Like, I think about like, this one guy, like I'm thinking of,
hmm
I'm, like he goes through things, and even though I've put it out there for us to reach out to each other, I know that he won't really do that, like,
hmm
and same thing for me. He's totally fine if I go to him, right? But
hmm
he's not going to come to me so much, right?
yeah,
What I've noticed. It's my perception. It could be inaccurate, but it's just my perception, right? And
yeah,
so then it shuts down this cycle because I'm like, I don't feel like coming to you, and then you don't come to me. I mean, it feels weird. It's just
hmm
coming to you as a crutch or something. That's how my mind says that, right? Like, and
hmm
then you're not reciprocating, you're not coming to me.
hmm
And so then it just turns into more minimal communications, more of
hmm
the basics, and hey, dude, blah blah blah, and let's
hmm
do this, let's do that, all the usual stuff, right?
yeah,
Or another thing I see with guys that are dealing with things is what we do with each other instead of like emotionally connecting more deeply. And I'm not making this thing I'm going to say wrong, but
hmm
I notice this is the level it goes to, is we make jokes with each other or even prod each other. Like,
hmm
we start talking smack with each other or whatever,
hmm
right? And this is our way of really bonding. We're not really serious about it, right? It's like, oh, this, but that's our like surface way of really dealing with those deeper feelings and emotions we have, which some of it's probably okay, but like we're never getting into the deeper energy and
hmm
really vulnerably sharing,
yeah,
we're missing out a lot, and then we do feel very lonely and isolated. Whereas,
hmm
again, on average, women are just way more likely to open up to each
yeah,
other and
yeah,
share all kinds of emotions and feelings and
hmm
thoughts and whatever they're having. And whereas guys with each other, you're right, it's you don't
Yeah.
see that
Not
nearly
at all.
much. Yeah.
I think it's changing though. I think,
Yeah.
well, it's changing to a degree. I
Mm-hmm.
think there's specific generations who are noticing this deficiency, and they're
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
taking the steps to bridge the gap.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I think there are also other demographics, also other age groups that need to take the same gap or same leap. Because I think there is an epidemic of men, A, killing themselves, B, being lonely, and C, being deprived. Specifically when it comes to emotional connections and intimacy with other men, and having a healthy depiction of what that is.
Mm-hmm.
Um, there is a great deficiency in males, and um, I think men truly need to seek out, or seek first within, to find out why, and A, search for someone who matches them. Um, I think something you said really sticks out to me, that you reach out to someone to have this intimacy, but they don't reciprocate. And that just makes me think that that person is stuck in the mindset of, um, I have to be strong, I have to be stoic, I have to be unemotional. Um, so I would wonder where they feel like they can't be vulnerable, or where
Mm-hmm.
vulnerability scares them. It was the thing I had to also learn myself, is I hated vulnerability. I still have like an issue with it a little bit. I hate when people can truly see me. Um, I hate getting emotional. And I think a lot of men have that same thing, because we feel like it's dangerous to be seen at our most vulnerable. We think it's dangerous to be seen as emotional beings, when in reality, most of us are hella emotional.
Yeah.
Um, very, very emotional, and need to really take a hold of that emotions and be okay with it. I think everyone is a balance between, or of masculine and feminine, and we need to live in them both, just because that's who everyone is. Everyone has yin and yang,
Mm-hmm.
and everyone should feel safe embodying either or, safely. So
I mean, look.
yeah, yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Oh. I was just gonna say, look at your journey. You didn't have any, you know, in your household, at least, you didn't have a father.
Nope.
I know, like for me, I had a dad
Hmm.
who was great, is perfect in his own way, right? I do nothing but like give thanks every day for my dad. And
Hmm.
at the same time, there's just what he was coming from and the improvement, like you said, he way 10x whatever his environment was or more. But
Yeah.
coming in, some of the areas where, just in retrospect, I mean, everything's perfect is how I see it ultimately. But like,
Hmm.
I'm like, oh, if this could have changed, it might have been really helpful for me as a kid. But like,
Hmm.
just being able to be emotionally more available. Now, like he might talk with me and have conversations, we have fun conversations, sure, but to share more deeply, to feel like an emotional, deeper connection and intimacy like that, like I don't know, I just yeah, there's too much detachment, like too much, like I'm just watching TV when I get home
Hmm.
from work, the typical, right? And it
Yeah.
just didn't seem to be at that level that could have
Mm.
been more helpful. So and yet I'm infinitely grateful. He's very it's very stable, because his family was all alcoholics and all that, so he was very
Mhm.
dedicated to just being stable.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be that person. I'm going to take care of my family. Oh my God, I just think he's amazing
Mhm. Mhm.
pulling that off, and
Yeah.
given the mental health issues in the family and everything. So
Mhm.
I think people are, like you said, like with your mom, like they're
Mhm.
doing the best they know how to do, right? I mean,
Exactly.
they're
Yeah.
doing what. So I think because we too easy, we can overly demonize,
Mhm.
people, right? Like, and then the narcissist thing. It's like,
Mhm.
I'm not saying you're doing this, but
Mhm.
narcissist this, narcissist that. Like we hear
Mhm.
it all the time in social media, and it's been good to a point, right, to bring a light of awareness. But it's like, listen, guys, they're just doing what they know what to do. They don't know how to do otherwise.
Yeah.
More love and compassion for for the way. people are with their narcissistic patterns, or people are like full-blown narcissistic or whatever, because again, that's the only way for things to get into greater wholeness. It's like to really not, rather than we keep we're demonizing ourselves as we demonize others, right? It's like we're all narcissists at some level.
Yeah. Yeah. The one thing that I know for a fact is that everyone has a bit of everything. Everyone has psychopathy, narcissism. We all have a little bit of everything. I think it's just up to us to understand how to navigate it in a healthy way and how to remove it if we need to. I think you know a true narcissist because they are nothing but their narcissism. A lot of people have powerful narcissistic tendencies without being a full-blown narcissist, because a full narcissist is very, very rare. And they're usually very, 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 they're like a monolith of just that abuse and that kind of conditioning as a person who is someone who suffers from that personality disorder. So it's not something you can question when you know who a narcissist truly is. But I do understand what you say is a lot of people do throw it around because the tendencies or the traits are all over the internet. The internet is inundated with all of these, I guess I could say, excerpts from the standpoint of a psychologist, and everyone wants to be the smartest in the room or look like the smartest in the room. So they throw around all these things to look good for social media and for validation.
Isn't that funny? Oh, I got to just say something on that real quick. Yeah, isn't that interesting that the people that are trying to call out the narcissists are being narcissistic and calling out the narcissists in many cases anyway? Isn't that is kind of hilarious when you think about it.
A lot of them don't truly know what a narcissist is. I think it's easy to pinpoint narcissism when you can see traits of it, well, which obviously, but you don't truly know a narcissist until your life is upended by one. Because again, anyone can have the tendencies, but to know a true narcissist is to know what ruin really is, especially when it comes to your mind, sometimes your body, your parasocial relationships, everything. So yeah, I think there's a lot of that on the internet where people just they'll see a term used a lot and they'll throw it around because it looks good. And I think I would beg people to really research what a narcissist is, and also get a handle on what it is, what it looks like, and what the tendencies are and what they look like. Because again, they're just two distinctly different things. A narcissist, a true narcissist, is a supernova. Something that, well, no, a black hole, something that is huge, big, and absorbs everything around it in the worst way. Someone with tendencies are destructive, yes, but they can be fixed, they can be healed. A narcissist cannot, period. And it's not a choice that they make, it's just it's who they are. They cannot choose, to change.
It's like looking at I don't know, like a Charles Manson or something, like to give another sort of example, like okay, we'll do therapy on him, we're gonna get him worked out, do some energy work on him, like probably not gonna work out. I always submit, who knows, anything's possible, but like ultimately, but yeah, I know what you mean. Like chances are very slim that that's gonna change anything. So
the only thing that really changes it, well, I guess changes a narcissist, is age, because once they're no longer capable of being who their old self or their original or younger self is time. Time ravages a narcissist. A lot of times in the worst way. But that's the only thing that will change them, is because they're no longer capable of enacting the same evil on a physical level. But they will be able to do it on an emotional level if someone is susceptible to them. But yeah, I only speak about this because I know it firsthand. I grew up with a narcissist my entire life. So I know them intimately. I've done the research, read the articles, done the healing, grew up with tendencies myself, and have finally beat depression and anxiety. And yeah, it's all because of a narcissist. So there's a lesson that there's a lesson you learn by being born by one, and there's a lesson you learn by interacting, or lessons you learn by interacting with them, and that is to understand the signs and to navigate through them in a healthy way, and to also have compassion for them, because I think the most valuable thing that I've gained is compassion for my mother.
Mm-hmm.
She did something recently that enraged me to the point of like explosion. Like, and normally I would flip out, lose it. But in the moment, I felt myself wanting to go there. I had compassion, and I thought,
Mm-hmm.
okay, this is who she is.
Mm-hmm.
I can't change it no matter how much I want to change it. She can't change it. She keeps doing the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
So it's okay. Well, it's not okay, but it's okay. I can't do anything about it. It's who this
Mm-hmm.
person is.
Right.
Um, and I can no longer allow it to cause me emotional turmoil.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so yeah, I think just being in these circumstances, not only with narcissism, but being a man in general and navigating difficult emotions, you have to deal with them, and you have to find a modality of healing through them. I think one thing I also want to say is I think it's very, very easy as a man, as a person who was wounded in general, to find an outlet to continue causing pain instead of addressing your inadequacy. Um, so I would also say that as a man who is wounded, who is going through depression or anxiety, monitor the way that you react to people, um, and monitor the way that you cause pain. I think the biggest thing that was hard for me to reconcile is my capacity to hurt others, my capacity to cause pain with my actions and words. That ate me alive for a while. Um, for a very, very long time, it bothered me that I am someone who's capable of great harm.
Mm-hmm.
But I think once you get an understanding that yes, you're capable just because you're human, and I'm a very large human, uh,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I think understanding that it's possible and I'm capable of it, but also understanding that I should be a person who is above it, who is more than it, who is someone who wants to be a positive source in the lives of not only myself but everyone else.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but to forgive myself for being someone who's capable, and to manage my mind when the thoughts come up, or if they ever come up at all. And I say that just because I see a lot of the times men who are wounded will go into like incel culture, or will go into um, attacking others to make themselves feel better, or go into phobias and isms, or wildly dangerous, um, I guess I could say alt-right thoughts about just, or alt-right groups of just harm. I think that gives a lot of men who are wounded a level of intimacy, because you have that connection with others who think the same as you,
Mm-hmm.
or who feel the same as you in that moment. So I would also ask, or urge other men who are wounded to, instead of seeking to hurt others, address why they're hurt first.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
again, I went into this kind of circle, a cyclical rant about all that, but
Yeah.
um, I think the big thing I've been seeing in a lot of wounded men who don't have access to their emotions and intimacy and healthy connections is they fall into this hole of causing harm to others,
Mm-hmm.
um,
Mm-hmm.
and don't understand how harmful they are being by harming other, or harmful to themselves they're being by harming others.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so yeah.
All the different ways that they could end up being that way. I mean, the alt-right thing is like one example. It might be sort of an extreme example, but like,
Mhm.
well, yeah, we all belong to this group. We're gonna hate these people, or we're gonna do this or that, whatever people consider the alt-right. But then you have, to me, like on the extreme left or whatever, like you've got like all this stuff, like in
Yeah.
let's punish everybody because they're bad because of this, and you got men and women on all those sides doing those things. And I hear what you're saying, like with men and women, like I'm hurt, so I will hurt, like let's hate the people that hate me. That I think that's the solution.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And it's like, how's that going to work out? No.
Um,
So I
it just
really appreciate like people who have taken a stand. Like again, I've talked about this before. I always forget the guy's name, but there was this guy who would talk with like the KKK, for example. They're all guys, and like usually women in it, not usually anyway. I mean, but they would go to these Klansmen, the top ones, this black man, and he'd go talk to them, and he'd be like, all right, well, let's talk. Tell me about how you feel about me and whatnot. Well, this and that. And he'd just be like, oh, okay, yeah, all right, I understand your perspective. I get it, no problem.
yeah.
And then he would, but by accepting what they said and not judging them and understanding where they're coming from, he'd share something with them, and he would consistently always shift them. Like they come out of like being the way they come right out of it. They would give up their hood or whatever and all that stuff. They'd resign and everything again and again and again. And he claimed anyway that it wasn't one that he didn't sit down and talk to in that way where they didn't give it up. So it just shows like this idea, like we can't shift people that seem like they're not shiftable. It isn't always true. Whether the Charles Manson, the extreme narcissist, I don't know, but there's a lot of these situations where there's more change possible than what people think. But people are filled with their own anger, their own wounds, and their own hate so much that they're like, yeah, but they don't even deserve that, and it's not even about that, guys. It's like it's ridiculous. That deserve that. That's like, and then I was like, look in the mirror, like, where do you feel you don't deserve something that you need to be eternally punished for?
Exactly.
That really needs to be addressed, in my opinion, right?
Yeah, when you're hating on someone else for anything, it's something you're hiding from in yourself. If you hate something about someone, it's something probably you hate within you that you haven't addressed. Yeah, so if you're online or if you're anywhere spewing hate about someone, you really should address why you feel inadequate, why you feel like you don't deserve whatever. If you're jealous of somebody wealthy, it's because you're upset with them for being somewhere where you think you should be. If you're jealous of someone or angry at somebody for having something you don't have, it's usually jealousy that you're hiding from. So yeah, I think it's just more so you're deprived of something and you need to understand where that depriving or deprivation, I don't know, is coming from more than you're willing to go anywhere and just attack someone. I think if people really sat and addressed their emotions before they lashed out, things would be a lot better. The internet would be a lot better. The world would be a lot better. Because I think that's an epidemic. We have wounded people being famous for being wounded. We have wounded people spreading their wounds all over the internet instead of fixing their wounds. We have so many people who are hurt by whatever circumstance they grew up in that they don't understand that it's time to address that hurt, heal it, and live a better life. And I think also the consensus with men is that the world is an unsafe and dangerous place. When in actuality, it isn't. There are dangerous parts, and you can't deny that. But collectively, in totality, the world is a safe, fun, beautiful place. You just have to find those aspects, and you have to live in them. And when I say live in them, I mean more so mindset, expectations, focus. The biggest thing that's really helped me in my healing journey is focus and understanding what I focus on, I attract, and I truly attract it just because, again, being someone who grew up in a family of spiritualists and psychics, my karma's very, very fast. So if I do bad stuff, it comes back like that. When I want something, it usually comes very, very quickly. And not only that, I have to be mindful of what I do and say, just because again, my magnetism is stronger than a normal people.
Hmm.
It comes to me, it comes back really, really, really fast. So I kind of again went on a cyclical rant.
Oh, that's great.
But
I was hoping we get to that because, like,
yeah.
for example, like for me, like I relate to that part because when I get animated about something, I start speaking aloud. And again, it's for everybody to a certain degree, but like for me, like it's something that's recognized in our family. I get animated about something. I'm like, it's like this, it's like that, or whatever. And it could be not always for the best what I'm saying, right? If when
Yeah.
I get animated about something and
Hmm.
not being hateful, but it's just like animated about something and I'm
Hmm.
like, it's like this, it's like that, I get into this command energy. And then
Hmm. Hmm.
it's like, yeah, like family has learned to tell me, like, okay, can you please cancel that now? Because we know what happens when you get it like this. Like, because
Hmm.
like one time, like even when I wasn't animated, I was like, there was a birthday like celebration. We were on a getaway, and just
Hmm.
a small example, just a fun, quick example. But and then I want to tie this back to mental health too. But
Hmm.
I just saying something like, they're like, "Oh, how's your birthday? How are you enjoying this weekend?" And I'm like, it's been good. I enjoy it. You know, no, it hasn't been quite as exciting because I'm like really too honest sometimes. I'm like crazy too honest sometimes. I'm like, it's not quite as like exciting and like with excitement and everything, but it's been nice. It's been really nice. Well, within like a minute or two, the fire alarm goes off in the hotel. Like, everybody's got to get out.
Hmm.
Like, Dad, would you quit asking for excitement? Because like, or like when I melted down my stepdaughter's phone when I was really mad, she's on her phone. I'm like, I wish that phone would just like completely turn off. And then it like wouldn't work. It just totally went down. Like it literally went, it turned off, it wouldn't turn on, and she had to go get it repaired, like things like that. Like I wouldn't even say it aloud. I said it inside. So
Hmm.
for all of us to be mindful about our mindset and our energy and everything. And
Yeah.
that contributes to, yeah, like we're planting all these seeds all the time for wellness or not so good things, right? And that influences our mental health completely.
Oh yeah.
So, right. So, anyway, well, I don't want to keep you too much longer. I know you got a big day. And I know you had an ebook. You have a whole ebook to share with people to help people with mindset. Do you want to tell them about that?
Yeah. Excuse me. Um, excuse me. So my ebook is called A Growth Mindset, or How to Develop a Growth Mindset. It's in PDF form, so when you click it, you should go to the link, or it should take you to the link, and you can read through it. I took a while to work through it and get really good. Um, I guess I want to say like contextual evidence on how to have a growth mindset. Um, I'm really proud of it. It looks really amazing. I did a lot of great work when it came to creating it and finding really great information for it. And I think it's a good, short, comprehensive look on how to kind of get out of your own way and to, I guess, build inner strength. And not only that, have a growth mindset, a mindset that is for your development, for again, your growth, for you to become the best version of yourself. So, yeah, check it out. I hope you
Um,
enjoy it.
awesome. Yeah, we'll put the link in the show notes for people to check that out. And anywhere else, where can people find you? Just look you up or
Yeah. I'm doing my summit, which is thrivehealersnetwork.com.
Mhm.
You can find me on social media at Auro underscore A Alamar or A Alamar. Um, and that's on TikTok and Instagram. Um, and I have another website for my psychic readings and my spiritual healings, which is thrive/consultations.square.com. So yeah, all these places are, um, you can find me if you want to reach out for any help. I promise I'm not this chaotic when I'm in session.
You're good.
um, but
I
yeah,
don't think other people see it that way at all.
I hope so. But yeah, I think every man needs healing. specifically if you're a man who grew up depressed or with anxiety. You truly need to address your depression, your anxiety. You need to address your wounds. That's key as a man growing up in society. It's key for you to access your compassion, your kindness, and your love. It's key for you to access your intimacy. It's key for you to be the best version of yourself. So find the root to that. Find someone to help you. Even if it's not me, it can be whoever you want. But find the root to yourself, your truest and best self, because you owe that to yourself and you deserve it.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. It's a great note to wrap things up on. So I'm so grateful to have had you on and to cover so much. There's so much more I'd love to get into, maybe another time, but the psychic stuff and all our gifts and everything, my God, I'll just say, guys, one of my last words is the more you learn to be in the right relationship with the capacities you have also makes a huge difference in mental health. And there's people like Auro and myself and others that help with that as well, like helping you to really get connected with that, to help you. Because if you got those things going on that live in the shadow box, you're suppressing energy, emotions, gifts. It's going to blow up in your face. So just inevitable.
It's dangerous to deny your spirituality for any period of time, just because things build and build and build. In the movies, they show an explosion. They're not wrong. You keep denying it and something's going to happen. So address it and let it go, let it flow. And don't be afraid to look crazy. You're probably not crazy. You're just psychic as hell. So
right. Yeah. To look crazy and have people have a bunch of opinions and concepts about it. It's good to even reject you. I've had to reaffirm that lately because I'm like, oh, I think I've changed. I became a little chameleon for a while because I was trying, even though I go around, like tune in like everybody and nobody else, or whatever, not that maybe that extreme, but I can really tune in, man, do I know, but like other, to the depth of who I am, like I just realized how I've been hiding it. And so like appreciated you coming on because I know you're about that journey too. Like we need to, show up fully as who we are, and people will have opinions and concepts, but that's all part of your journey. If you're triggered by it, like, is to heal through those things, move through those things, and we can do it together, but do it with support, like we all, like whatever that looks like for you guys. So anyway, we could go on and on, but I think we go ahead and wrap up for today, Auro, but I'm just so grateful you came on today.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I'm grateful to be here and to have been invited. So thank you so much.
Thank you for listening in to Just Two Conscious Guys Talking, where our mission is to impact millions of men ultimately to deepen their awakening by examining their consciousness of what's been unfolding for them with male stereotypes and programming that has allowed them to have opportunities to evolve during these times. It's an exciting time to bring more love to men and women around the world, and we are grateful for you tuning in today. Feel free to share this episode and keep tuning in, and also look in the show notes for a link to get notifications of future episodes. Until the next time, everyone, goodbye for now.